We need to talk about maps. Us humans have a serious and sometimes deadly history of making maps of this little planet that we live on. We went to the far reaches of the Earth using the farthest reaches of science to develop these maps and detailed descriptions of our world. But why wasn't this done with human behavior? Carl Jung went deep into discovering these hidden depths of human psychology. He even produced some of the most stunningly beautiful representations of all this in his paintings. My question is, where is the map for psychology? So a map is a tool, and you can use that to plan ahead, to find your way, or even to determine what went wrong when you don't arrive where you wanted to go. That's what a good map should be able to do. Why don't we have a map for human influence and interaction? Like, where is it? After all these years, with all these studies in psychology, people equally obsessed with the mind as the people who are mapping our planet, where the hell is the map? I have produced a lot of maps of behavior over the years, and I mean a lot. And now, even Dr. Phil calls me the #1 expert in the world, if that means anything to you. But I want to show you one map that shows how influence works, and I mean all forms of influence. Sales, persuasion, parenting, interrogation, lawyers persuading juries, doctors persuading patients, political leaders persuading entire nations, or even how cult recruiters talk people into joining a cult and then keeping them into the cult. So let's start by actually defining persuasion. In my words, persuasion is the action of causing a behavior to occur that would never have occurred otherwise. For instance, something low on the persuasion scale might be talking to a new friend of yours to go to a new restaurant that you like. Something high on the persuasion scale might be a therapist using techniques to talk somebody out of eating disorder in a single session. They both cause a deviation from normal behavior. The map I'm about to show you should stand up to what a map should be able to do. I am personally obsessed with maps. I even spent a good chunk of my life, if you didn't know, as the navigator of a guided missile destroyer in the Navy. I know that you're going to want to print some of these high-resolution images out. You can download this map by clicking below, and I'll send it to you, or you can just download the free training app and download all of the graphics that I produce. You can join the Hughes app with the button down here below, and it's on the house. Okay, so let me introduce you to the 6-axis model of influence. You're going to use what I'm about to show you for the rest of your entire life.
Sometimes I feel I'm scared to live.
I wanted to come back to this convention and finish that speech I started 4 years ago.
Actually trying to do, and how what they think they're doing. I'd be very pleased to know.
It is not even the beginning of the end.
You better ask her again who spanked him till his bottom bled.
These people were influencers before social media even existed, but they are extremely different from one another. What was it about these people that made them influential? If they're so different, why hasn't someone made a map of this? Lastly, we see all these professors who spend lifetimes studying charisma, personality, even influence. But the question I've always had was, how can someone spend their life studying all of this and still have none of it? Why don't they now have all this personality and charisma? And I'll tell you why. Information and skill are two very different things. The academic stuff was all about information instead of reality, and I needed reality. I was training intelligence operatives, and I'm developing programs for extreme conditions and elite teams. I needed a clear model that shows what makes influence happen even in extremely different circumstances. a map that I could literally diagnose how influence and persuasion work. And I even should be able to apply this map to situations to figure out how someone was made to join a cult, kill people, or even buy a slap chop. It took me 22 years to build what I'm about to show you, and I wish I was there with you to make this discovery. This model right here is the most powerful tool that has ever been created for influence and persuasion, as far as I'm concerned. This is called the 6-axis model of influence. You may remember in another video, the fate model shows us a hierarchy of what our brains automatically respond to because of our ancestors. And the fate model is also an illustration of how almost all mammals react to their environment. And if you haven't seen the video I did on this, there's a link below down there. It just says fate in all caps right there. It's pretty easy to find. But let's just talk about humans right now. The 6-axis model shows us the 6 factors that cause influence to be effective. Let me walk you through the super technical definitions of these terms and what they mean to me. So first is suggestibility. This is the degree to which a person will accept and then act on a given suggestion by an operator. And if you're new to this channel, an operator is just the general term that I use to describe the person that's doing the influencing. So next is focus. This is the degree to which a person will maintain attention on something, hopefully the operator, and exclude all the other competing stimuli from their awareness. Next is openness. This is the degree to which a person feels they can just completely open up and become vulnerable with another person. And this is typically marked by an absence of a fear of social or societal repercussions. Next is connection. This is the degree to which a person feels a sense of social connection with another person, and it's typically marked by a desire for future contact with that operator. Next, we have compliance. This is the degree to which a person will comply with a direction to perform an action. So let me just break down some ambiguity really fast. Suggestibility and compliance are different things. Suggestibility is responding to a suggestion. Compliance is responding to an actual direction or command to do something. Finally, we have expectancy. And this is the degree to which a person reasonably feels that they can predict, either consciously or unconsciously, what's going to be happening soon and whether or not it's going to be enjoyed. So now, I know what you might be thinking, that all 6 of these things are required to persuade someone. But here's the incredible part. In reality, only 3 of these qualities need to be present for somebody to be persuaded, but they do have to be present to a pretty large degree. So which of these 3, you might be asking? And it's any 3. You can literally pick any 3 on here. Of course, you can get all 6 if you want, and then your persuasion is essentially unlimited. So imagine each of these 6 axes like a bottle of juice or water. Everyone that you speak to is going to start a conversation with different levels of juice in each bottle. When the time comes that 3 of these bottles are nearly full, you'll discover that that's when persuasion happens. In extreme examples, like the Milgram experiment where volunteers obeyed authority figures and were told to shock somebody, or who they thought was being shocked, to death, the same 6-axis model can be used to diagnose what factors of influence were used. The Milgram experiment on obedience only needed to touch focus, suggestibility, and compliance. They never touched connection or openness or expectancy. The Milgram experiment essentially poured fuel onto focus, suggestibility, and compliance. Once these 3 factors were increased in the participants, they became hyper-obedient to the point of committing murder, or at least thinking they did, in under an hour, because a stranger told them to. For how all of that happened, you can click the focus video down below in the description. So the 6-axis model illustrates this potential for influence, and it can be used both as a planning tool to ensure a conversation is as persuasive as it can be, and it can be used as a post-mortem tool to figure out what went wrong or what worked best in an interaction. In legal cases, for example, the model can be used to plan ahead for jury trials or to evaluate an attorney's ability to persuade a jury. In sales, for example, the 6-axis model can be used to plan for a sales meeting, a call, or to analyze how a sale was lost and what can be done to correct the problem. Every influence technique you will ever learn in your life pivots around increasing the value of one of these 6 axes, or determining a value based on nonverbal communication. So if you're studying body language or behavior profiling, you're learning how to see changes in the 6 axes. And now when you're studying influence, you're using how to modify the 6 axes. So whether you're profiling behavior to determine where somebody is on the 6-axis model, or you're using influence methods, your time is always spent inside of this 6-axis model, whether you like it or not. In the Milgram experiment, people believed they were shocking strangers at various strengths and in some cases at a lethal level. The participants weren't connected with each other or the experimenter, who was this guy in the lab coat. They also didn't have much expectation or expectancy as to what was going to happen next. And as a result of both of those things, they weren't very open or vulnerable about their true feelings. So there goes 3 of the 6 axes almost disappeared. However, they were highly suggestible and compliant due to the presence of authority. They were hyper-focused on the situation due to the ancestor scripts, or what we call the fate model, that were triggered both with the authority that was present and the novelty or newness of the situation. Again, the focus video is right here in the description if you haven't seen that yet. So even with only 3 qualities in the green here, just 3 out of the 6, the experiment produced profound results where people deviated dramatically from their normal social behaviors. The rock-solid internal compass that we have that says, don't kill people, which we call a life script in my training, was completely overwritten because it was trumped by an ancestor script. And we're going to dive really deep into those in a future video that I promise you won't want to miss. We've come a long way as a species, but we still have these echoes of our ancestors coursing through our actions and our thoughts, and a lot of it's happening in the background. So this 6-axis model is just a map. As simple as it looks here, it did take me 23 years to put this together, and I wanted to make this video to share with you in hopes that you will find more uses for it and you'll use it in ways I've never even thought of. I'm hoping that you truly see the life-changing value in using the 6-axis model. This thing has the potential to change therapy, sales, malpractice lawsuits, and even how we raise our kids. And you've invited me into your life today for this short time, so I really thank you for that, and thank you for spending a little time with me here. If you take 1.3 seconds to subscribe easily, you'll be the first in line when I release the next video. I love you. Take care.